Yeah, I will, if you
Yep,
You
go
don't-
ahead.
Yeah, at our last workshop, I was, I think I brought up the idea of maybe not funding, as we went through all the, on the town side, I'm talking about, as we went through all the different asks and so forth, I think we pretty much agreed on all of them, except that the ones that we call the new positions, which was in land use, public works, and then the clerk's office. I've done some further digging on that, and I think that even though we want to be somewhat parsimonious, I think those are all good positions and that we should bring them forward. So I'm going to suggest that we do reinsert those asks into the town side budget.
I support that.
I'm not sure we took them out, did we, Jean?
We just said we would leave him for tonight to talk about.
Okay, it's just
Yeah,
point of
so-
clarification.
Yep. So if everyone's okay with that, we will, Stace, if you could go back to our list and add those three back in, that would be great.
I'm good with that.
Okay, anyone else? Discussion? Hello, people.
Wow.
Justin,
Also,
if
I
you're
hear you.
talking, Justin, I can't hear you if you're talking.
There he goes.
Still not hearing you, Justin.
He's dialing. Anybody else have anything to say while we wait? So we do have to talk about, while we're waiting for Justin, we do have to talk about first selectwoman's salary. So I'm going to propose that we do the COLA increase, which is 2%, which would start in January. That's what the, go ahead.
I just want to weigh into that. I don't know how, I know previous life, right, it had to be in a non, election year is the only time you can adjust the chief elected official salary, for last better term. So are you going to make it like two cost of living adjustment this year and next year, or can you do it next year? And do you have to do 4% this year if you wanted to do that?
It's
It's a
just
question, not a statement.
Yes, if you wanted to do that, you could, but you are correct. You could not do both. Let me back up. You can, if you wanted to increase it, knowing next year that it's not an election year and they wouldn't be able to, you could propose that.
So
if
you can either
want.
do 2% this year and nothing the following year.
Correct.
Or whatever this board
Yeah,
decides.
yep.
Or
Mhm.
if you want to say differently, you could do 4% this year if you wanted to go with that route, and 0% the
Correct.
following. Okay.
Correct.
Is there any way we could vote on now in this municipal election year for a 4% increase, 2% to take effective July 1st, 2022, and the following 2% to take effect? You can't split it up that way. I see you already
No,
shaking your
'cause-
head, Jean. You can't
Yeah,
split
because
it.
it's got to go, right, because that would have to go to a vote in the following year.
Yeah, let me jump in, Jude and John. The rationale for that, and this goes back to a decade or so ago when Scarpati was the first selectman, and that the idea was that we wanted to, and I was on the Board of Finance at the time, and we wanted to make the pay based on the job, not on the person. And so that's why we do it this year, because we don't know who is going to win an election this fall. It could be, well, whoever. And, but to your suggestion, a year from now, well, we know who's going to be it in. We might say, oh, that person is doing a great job, or that person is doing a lousy job. So we would base the raise on some opinions thereof. So that's why we've done it. We set up to do it prior to the election, so it is person neutral.
So Fillmore, first, I agree with that. It was the same before, right? You could not do a raise in a non-election year for those reasons. The only reason I brought up the 4% or whatever this, I don't want to see what happened a few years ago. I think to be competitive, and this is no offense to Peggy or Tom or any previous first selectman, right? I think the salary needs to kind of stay in line. That was my only question. Not that 4% is going to sway anybody either way, but I'd rather see us do 4% and 0 the following year, as opposed to 2, or if the cost of living is 2%, then I think we all agree there won't be another raise. There can't be another raise a year from now. That's all I was trying to bring up. I understand
Yeah,
about
so
not being able to raise.
I did look at, I'm sorry, I did look at the average, and the average for the state is 78,000.
And I didn't look at that, Gene. I can tell you some that are a lot more depending on the,
Yeah, it's an average.
Right.
Yep.
so and some with a lot less, some are part-time. So I think, 100 is fair, but I just want to make sure, because I don't know what this board did, but to bring it up last time to get it to increase was a big jump, and I don't want to see, that's all.
Yep. No, that's fair. All right.
So yeah, I'll suggest, so Gene, are you saying that that the salary as of January 1st coming up is 104 instead of 100? Is that
102.
She's saying 2% Fillmore.
102?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
I was saying the
And that's
4%.
Right.
that's good.
All right. Justin, are you with it? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jude.
I don't know. I do think that John brings up a good point in wanting to make sure that we don't get in a position where we were in before, where we had to take such a big increase. I think, what did we go from 75 to 100 in 1 year? So if we were to go up 4% now, well, that's more than cost of living for 2022. It would, I mean, that's, you could kind of say, generally speaking, that 2% cost of living for the next year would be a reasonable assumption to make. I don't know if there's any appetite for going up to that 4%.
You could do 3 too, but I'm not, I just wanted to bring up the point.
Yeah,
Fair point. I think, Jude, going back, that big jump that you referred to a couple of years ago, well, 3 or 4, whatever it was not a cost of living jump. It was a recognition that maybe we
right.
weren't being,
That we weren't being competitive with like towns. But I guess what I'm saying is, if you don't go up with the cost of living each year and you only do it every other year,
Yeah.
then are you going to get yourself in that position in another 10 years?
Yeah, well,
where you're falling behind other towns.
And that may be something in future years to look at. I don't think during COVID, and I think when you look at what the increase is for the non-affiliates, I think that's fair that that the position would be in line with that.
We had the discussion. I'm fine with the 2%. I think it's just something we need to be very mindful of. That's all.
That's
Yep.
fair. That's fair.
Yep.
Good?
Yep.
All right. So Stace, you got that 2%.
Mhm.
Justin, you with us?
Yeah, sorry, I think I had some audio problems, but I'm fine. It was on my end, sorry.
That's okay. Did you have something to say?
No, I had nothing to add on the salary, no.
Okay. So what's left is the Board of Ed. We've gone through everything else, so I'm
Well,
open.
was Justin wanting to say something about those 3 employees, but he was muted? Putting them, agreeing that we will fund those 3 town employees?
I
Guess
think
I
he's
can start at
frozen.
Looks frozen now.
Justin, are you good with those 3? I think he did
Hold
say
on.
that before he froze. He's still frozen.
Yeah,
All right, well, why don't we'll come back when he can get in. So so the Board of Ed, I'm open to discussion. Justin, you
Yeah.
with us? Go
Yeah.
ahead, John, go ahead.
I'm not,
Thanks, Steve. Yes?
Yep, go ahead, John.
I don't think I have a question in here as I talk about this, and I mean, I gave you my thoughts last week, whenever that meeting was. We have a new superintendent. I think it would be more beneficial to allow the grant money to stay if they've showed a history, if they have money left over, that they would give it back. I think it just shows a little more trust with the superintendent and allowing him to do the job. But Gene, you did say something. Here's where my question comes in. Of course, if the Board of Ed came back in September, October, whatever the month, it doesn't really matter. And they needed more money for masks or filters, whatever we wanted to call it. They needed another 100,000, whatever it was. We would do that. Or obviously can't guarantee, but we would.
Well, this board will still be intact for that.
No, yeah, I know that.
So I think we could, as a board, we did this with the library, said, if you need it, we're here. I go back to the mill rate and the base. That's my concern. It's not so, the money's there right now. The need is there right now. It was the intent of the money. So I think it's fair and I think, as you say, John, a commitment that if you need it, certainly the priority is the priority of this town, I believe, are the children and the seniors. And I think we do an honest job with that. And I think if they need to open the schools and they're short, and they can come before and ask, I absolutely believe we would do that.
And I opened last year. I don't think anybody's against the kids or seniors or
Right.
anything.
Right.
I told you that drives me,
I know.
But here was my question. And again, I know other sides of the budget and government better than I do the town side. I got a new dog. But hypothetically, if we had to give them another 100,000, that's over and above what the town voted on it during the referendum. I'm trying to understand. It's not.
So it would be a special appropriation that would generate, so they would do a request to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen would vote on it, and then it would come to us.
and then a town meeting if it was.
Over 50.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand. So if it's over 50,000, you got to go back to the town. Is that what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
With a town meeting, not with a referendum.
All right. But under 50 would be.
And that may be something, if it's masks and they need 50, to open the school, but then they need another 50 when they realize they opened and they're short something, that could be another special appropriation.
I was just trying to gather. There's no way, Gina, putting it in a contingency so the town knows it's there just in case. And again, I'm asking.
Yeah.
That way
So-
they know it's possibly being spent, but that's all.
Yeah. And I think, certainly we can always start another reserve account. I think with our healthy fund balance, it's there. I don't think we need to have a separate account for it. I think it's just, an understanding that if they need it, we saved the base a little bit of money because of the funds. And then if they need them, they would come back. And they've done this before. So if you guys remember, and Stace, you're going to have to help me with the numbers. They had put in a special appropriation request, and then they got funds, right, Stace? And then they withdrew the request because they got the funds. So they will always have that opportunity to ask for more, or with, the history of withdrawing it because they got the funds to cover it. So.
John, going back to your, if I may, going back to your a comment a second ago about a contingency, if we, don't forget, if we created a budget line of contingency, then that's something we would end up taxing people for this year. And the contingency line in the budget, in the proposed budget is what, Stacy? It's pretty small. It's less than 100, I think.
Yeah, I think it's down to 71, Fillmore.
Yeah, which is very small considering a total budget of what, 80 some million or something. And in fact, what we do is we use our undesignated fund balance as the contingency. So it's there, and we're not having to tax the people for the contingency.
You're muted, John.
Sorry, thanks. Phil, I understand. I'm trying to get past the point where previously I couldn't spend more than what the budget allowed. So here you have to either go back before a town meeting, or you have to let, in some regards, I know what you're saying, if you built up a contingency, you'd be taxing the taxpayers, but in essence, the taxpayers would be approving that, right? They'd say, hey, you can spend up to this amount on this contingency because it would already be in the budget. That's where I was trying to get with this. That's all.
Yeah. Okay.
And I apologize again. I'm now on my phone, so hopefully this will work. So if I'm being redundant because I missed something, I apologize. But I just kind of look at this, John, and what helped me, which maybe will help you. I know you know this, but it's, to me, I try to keep it pretty simple. We have COVID needs in the budget, and now we know we have COVID money for that. So why not use it? But I think where you were going is, well, just in terms of what if there's additional need that kind of, unforeseen or happens down the road. But to me, I get a little comfort out of the fact that there is another COVID stimulus bill coming down in the future, even much larger than this one. So of course it's not guaranteed, and maybe the amount might shift a little bit, but I think any reasonable person would bet on that money, some amount of that, America Rescue Plan certainly will make its way to us. So that gives me a little bit of comfort that we have this money and we'd like to use some of it now, but with almost, a pretty high degree of certainty, we know there's another level of money coming behind that, not in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
So Justin, so are you talking now about, we have the 334,000.
344, and then they got an additional
Yes, I understand
75.
that.
Yeah, so it's what is it, Stace?
They got an additional
379.
379 for the ESSER 2 funds. That's not the ARP.
That's all I'm trying to clarify here, John. You're talking, Justin, you're talking about the ESSER 2 funds, which are now at
Plus the one.
379, and anticipating the American Rescue Funds, because we actually haven't gotten those yet, right? You're talking about another package. Okay.
That's what I was talking about in terms of the likelihood that more money will be coming. I'm referring to the Biden administration's American Rescue Plan. Yes.
Right. Yeah, because again, we do not have the 1.4 million that some people are saying we have. We don't have that in the bank yet. And
no,
I don't count on anything before the check clears, but yeah, and I agree that the money should be spent, and it should be spent for the things that it's being given to us for. But I do believe that the Board of Education, I do believe the superintendent with his budget has allocated what those funds should be used for. And my concern is that it's not that we have needs going out into the future that they'll be coming back and asking us money for. They know what some of their needs into the future are already, and they're planning on using these funds to meet some of those. When we're not talking about masks and hand cleanser, we're talking about social workers or psychologists for the social and emotional impact that's flooding our hospitals right now with patients. We know that that's going to need to be addressed in the schools, that's going to be big issues in the schools. And it's for the interventionists, for our very youngest of students in our kindergarten through grade 3, who are going to need interventionists with language skills, because those kindergartners and first graders just aren't catching on remotely as much as we'd like them to. So we know that those are needs. We know that the superintendent is planning on using this money to fund those needs. So I, again, think we know that need's there. He's planning on using that money. I'm very concerned if they come back this fall and say, we need an interventionist, we need a social, emotional psychologist or licensed caseworker, whatever that person is, that they're going to have a real hard time getting approval for that, because it's not just masks and hand sanitizer that we're talking about. I think it's in the budget. I think it's thoughtfully in the budget, and I think we should let the schools use that grant money to meet the needs the COVID needs they have, the way they're seeing what those needs are.
All right, so I think what we proposed was 100,000 out of the Board of Education budget.
I'm good with that.
I would feel more comfortable at 50 because of the facts we described and what I discussed. So if 50 would be where I'd be good with, at 100, I'm going to be against that.
Okay, anybody else?
This wasn't intentional, John. But I think 100 is a very reasonable number, and I think even 150. And Jude, I agree. We're not. The reason why we're not looking at the entire 379 is because we know technically this is really a stimulus bill, probably more than a COVID bill, but we don't want to get into that. But there are many things that are kind of like sanitizers and maintenance and things that this grant can be used for. But I think what we're trying to focus on is whether it's 100 or 150, we're only kind of focusing on what we know is actually student benefiting programming and teachers. So I think at 100,000 or even as high as 125 or 150, that we're being very reasonable, and we are. I think we are very certain that it is going to the things that we would want it to, and that the administration and the superintendent would want it to go towards.
And yeah, Justin, I'm not. I don't think anything. I get it. My thoughts were on, and I do think they need it. I've seen stuff in the smaller school, and that if you have to. When Gene again said, if it's more than 50 or 50 up, you have to go to a town meeting or things of that nature, which there's nothing wrong with that either. I just thought 50 would be more reasonable in my eyes, but I get it. That's why we're on the board.
Maybe
We discussed this.
Maybe I have more confidence in Biden with the next money than others.
Hey, I've been there where they yanked it right from you, pal.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
No, I'm good with the 100.
I'm good with the 100. Justin, you are. John, you're not. Jude, you're
No,
not.
for the reason I discussed, yeah.
Okay. All right. So Stace, by the majority, we'll remove the 100 from the bottom line of the Board of Ed. And I think that covers, right? We did the superintendents, we did Board of Ed. We put the 3 positions, or keeping the 3 positions.
Can we do the what we do remove from unallocated?
So we will wait till after the vote to do that.
Okay.
We probably will at the public hearing talk about that, but for the purposes of moving it forward, that we do not at this point add it in.
Okay.
Okay. I guess that's it. We're done. Any public comment?
Excuse me, do we need?
Yes. Oh, Stace, do we actually need to vote?
Yeah, I actually have
Okay.
a couple things I just wanted to go over.
Okay.
With keeping CIP flat. Actually, I'm going to share my screen first so you guys can see where we're at right now. So keeping CIP flat, I just want to remind you all that we did discuss doing a special appropriation for that amount, and maybe we could do that in April to just make sure that will be done to support the CIP expenditure plan as proposed. from the committee and then by the Board of Selectmen. And then the other item would be 500,000 to support the highway leasing program. That was a special appropriation that the Board of Selectmen talked about and will be recommending to you all. I just wanted to go on record that that will be coming in April. And if we do move forward with the budget as is, we should approve that 500 to support the expenditure plan that's in the program.
Right, and we'll wait till the selectmen make that formal request, but I appreciate you putting it on the record. So we're all on the same page that when that comes in, we will support that based on our budget discussions.
Okay, so then I have 3 motions that I'm hoping we can make tonight. The first one is a little unique, and what it is doing is modifying the first year of the CIP expenditure plan because we did the special appropriation of the 42,000 for the message boards. So I just wanted to remove that, make it official, and make sure the numbers will match. So if we can make a motion to revise the first year of the 5-year expenditure CIP plan to $103,799,136.
I'll move that, Stacy.
Second.
I'll second.
All
Was
right,
on
all in
mute.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Good, that's one. Go next one.
Okay, and then these are the typical annual motions, one for the Board of Ed total and one for the town total. So I'm not sure if somebody wants to make the motion. This is the amount right here, the $29,132,830.
Somebody move it.
I'll move that.
Oh, second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries.
So
Go
that
ahead,
was
Stace.
Fillmore, Jude, and all in favor?
Yes.
I have, okay. Thank you. Thank you. And then the Board of Ed would be a total of $59,272,037.
I need someone to
So-
move it.
So moved.
Second,
Wait,
Yep, second.
I need a second. Okay, discussion.
is that number the 59,272,037? Is that included, does that reflect the 100,000 that was
Yes.
just reduced?
It does.
Okay.
Other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye. Nay, whatever.
John's opposed too. Right?
John, are
John?
you opposed?
I thought I heard him say
Sorry,
aye.
I was on mute. I'm sorry.
I
Yes.
thought you said yes.
You're all right, Fillmore.
Abstentions? Motion carries.
So I'm sorry, John, that was a no. So it is 3-2, is that?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, guys, I was on mute.
That's all I have.
Okay, good. All righty, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. Is there any public comment? I'm sorry. Public comment.
No one has their hand raised.
Okay, all right, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thanks.